The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Good evening, everybody. Coming to you at a little bit of a different night this week, change of pace, but you can blame Don Garver and the powers that be who schedule Major League Soccer because on a normal Wednesday night, I will be sitting here doing my thing. But for this particular Wednesday night, I was up until about 3 a.m. soldiering on with my awesome producer, Sean. And if you listen to the most recent Soccer to the Max midweek, I'm warning you now, I will not be sober. So, just throwing that out there. And, you may want to be careful because 30 seconds in, it's probably not the best idea to listen at work. So, again, if you do, not my fault. Now, the good news for tonight. You will not hear any attempts at me in the French language. That was a one-off thing, unless any other major developments know about, and then that would be Quebecois French, which is, from what I hear and what I understand and what I know and what my friends speak and what I may or may not have thought about masturbating to, it's completely different. Okay, not completely, but there are differences. But you're not going to hear any of that out of my mouth. The bad news is, if you were to wanted me to sit here in anticipation, hey, what is viewer going to think about this romp him fashion craze? Sit the fuck down, turn away, because all I'm going to say about it is no and hell no. These things are abominations, they're only meant for women, and especially certain women. Now, granted, there might be someone who I happen to stumble upon while viewing MLS coverage, but that's for a different show. She could easily wear a romper. I'm going to leave it at that for the time being, because that could get down a slippery slope, and my life is enough of a fucking water park as is. So, no, you're not going to hear anything of that. But this is one of those weeks that's blessed me with enough topics for pretty much a show and a half. So, me sitting here in my meanness, I decided to pick and choose, and it's a whole first come, first served basis. So, deal with it. Now, if you've heard previous episodes, and if you've seen other things mentioned when I tweet or put on Facebook about my shows, one overarching theme of my life is conundrums. Now, yes, I haven't really talked about it because there's a new one that's kind of reemerged. I have to see what number she'll be given as the second quarter of the year is almost over, and trying to find preferably legal ways to obtain $200 to make certain things happen. I mean, if anybody wants to hit up like a GoFundMe or something, Kickstarter, I don't know what I could do as far as a patron, but I mean, I'd be willing to go down that road and offer certain trinkets and treats. Hit me up on Twitter at SquidSportsHead. As always, I'm willing to negotiate. But aside from that, I've had to do a lot of thinking and a little bit of soul searching these past couple of weeks, because the random theme, and speaking to all of my friends and radio hosts and maybe one or two other random people, is figuring out what I want. Now, granted, I'm not quite as young a man as I was back in the day. I mean, I'm sitting here counting down about 5 weeks until my 31st birthday. So, with something like this, I have other things naturally on my mind. And I thought as I'd gone through the insane journey that was my 20s, towards the end, that, well, I at least had some idea, some sort of configuration, adding up, plus and minus, throwing in a little differential calculus when things got really insane, and putting in some statistics because I had to deal with standard deviations. It was kind of whiteboard worthy in my mind. But I thought I'd come up with some sort of solution. But the more things progress, the more dating apps I join, the more weird matches that I tend to sometimes get, the more messages that I throw out that are unreciprocated, and the more developing situations, especially with my main conundrum, it's brought about a significant amount of confusion. Because it all circles back to what I really want when it comes to life and women. And I've had to rethink things a little bit. I'm not going to lie. But I'm hoping, and on the advice of my best friend, she initially suggested I write it down, but I had it scheduled for this podcast, so you, dear listeners, are going to be my conduit right now. You are going to help me project this in the universe and see what happens. Now, if any of you are thinking, yes, I'm insane, maybe I need to focus on getting more sponsorship deals and TV commercials done instead, fine. I have Twitter, that's what it's for. And I'm telling you people, it's been pretty bone dry since I started doing this show, and there's a hint of me that's a teeny bit disappointed. I mean, come on. Yes, I'm sitting here in front of my microphone being all fancy and currently, because it's a Florida summer, sweating my balls off in multiple senses of the word, but I am here. I'm hoping that I'm providing some awesomeness, and I would appreciate if that was at least a teeny bit reciprocated from time to time. As I mean, clearly, if I'm doing this myself, I'm in the weeds. I mean, at this point in my life, my history, especially with relationships, is, well, as I've mentioned before, very, very checkered. Ranging from everything to mysterious footage somewhere in the digital ether, to cleaning ladies, to ex-girlfriends, and incidences with very interesting smells. I mean, it's a teeny gambit, but it's a gambit nonetheless. So, now more than ever, I call upon you, mi público. Come on, help a brother out with me with this. I mean, if it so happens, if you know any people that kind of fit what I'm about to describe, you have ways to reach out to me. If you don't feel like dealing with me directly, Sean, I mean, you may have to field a few requests, be an intermediary. I mean, just fair warning. I mean, if they deem that you are more affable and approachable than I am, I don't see why not. But if that's how it goes, fine. You can tweet at him. I'll give out his Twitter at the end of the show, just as so that way he has more of a fair warning. But what I want, and I also wonder if this is complicated. To me, it doesn't seem that way, but I will let you decide. First of all, I realize I am not the relationship type. I'm not. 2 ex-girlfriends wanted me to be the relationship type, not just any relationship. The words marriage and stepdad were bandied about. That just, whoa, no. There's other shit I want to do, other places I want to be. Unless you're down for helping me check off items on my bucket list before settling down, then that's a completely different ballgame. I mean, right now, it's a situation that could potentially come up with one of my conundrums. That Granted, the way that things are going on right now, it's not a necessary topic, but I have a feeling if things progress, it will be. I'm going to cross that bridge when I get there. So, as far as having someone like girlfriend, no. While granted, wife material down the road would be fine. I mean, I got a little bit of drama going on, especially with my family. I got shit going on in my job. I'm grinding a lot, chasing my dreams. So if you're willing to hang in there with me as I'm doing this, fine. Stick around. Now granted, there are a lot of times I won't ask a lot of you. There will be some times that I will. But if you're not prepared, that's okay. More than okay. I get it. You want to do your thing, I want to do mine. But, that said, having a friend with benefits would be nice. I mean, again, I only feel like hanging out every so often. I mean, at least every couple of weeks, no more than maybe like once a week. We go, you could still have fun with your friends. I wouldn't interfere with your job or anything like that. And if you still try to get a serious relationship on the side for yourself, great. I'd be all for it. But, I mean, keep me in mind, bare minimum, and naturally, when I get gummed up, the whole benefits part, doling out a little pussy from time to time, you know, let me release the Kraken so that way I'm not pent up and I go on tirades and things. That, I would like to think that's understood, but I want to clarify that just in case. Expectations would be slightly more than minimal. Understand, sometimes I like to smoke, not often. Sometimes I like to drink, not often. So, just throwing that out there. As far as communicating, I like to talk. That's why I'm talking right now. That's why I have this show. But I don't like to do that all the time. Sometimes I just like to sit and think, which has been to my detriment more often than it should be, and more often than it needs to be. But if you understand that I'm in a weird headspace, now, that's just because I don't always like to talk. I'm good at listening. I'm good at helping with problems if you legit need it. I try to be there whenever I can. So I will be willing to offer that in return. And you don't always have to try to make me laugh or cheer me up or do things like that. Sometimes if I'm down, just, you know, let me know you're there. I'll reach out to you if I so decide, which from time to time I do, but if I don't, just check on me after the next day. Because usually if I am in a more intense than usual emotional cycle, it's usually about a day to filter things through my system, and then I'm back to at least quasi-normal. Normal that I can be. And when you do talk, I mean, yeah, making me laugh is fine, but make me think. I've always liked being engaged. My mind races God knows how fast. It'd be like one of those supercars trying to break the sound barrier. That's how I just operate. I always have. For better or worse, I always will. That's the level where I'm at. I don't expect you to be there. Very few people are, and I get that. But at least knowing where I am and posing a challenge or doing something along those lines, knowing that I think about certain social constructs or things in a different way, I'll explain them. I'll make it a good conversation, but just have that sort of approach. That's nothing bad. And I mean, sometimes if we just sit, chill out, doesn't always have to be out someplace at a bar, at a movie, at a ball game, just hanging in, Netflix, chill optional, or just something on regular TV. I like those moments too. And I guess the last biggest thing, I would completely understand if you don't like sports, but just understand that I do, and I am in the path to making it my job. Now granted, is it a 24/7 thing for me? No. I'll watch shows like Lucifer, Archer. I have my things, Kolchak the Night Stalker, things like that I'll keep tabs on from time to time and sit and watch when I get a minute. But if there's a big game, just about regardless of the sport, one night it could be basketball, one night football, one night hockey, one afternoon college lacrosse. I mean, if I'm curious about something, I've found myself watching a polo match. This is what I do. Is it anything and everything under the sun? No. But if I find myself awake 1, 2 in the morning and an Australian rules football match happens to be on, yeah, I'm gonna find ways to tune in. If you're down with me, late night snacks, get a drink, maybe halftime oral, giving or receiving, I'm willing to accommodate either. I'll make it beneficial. I'll give you a crash course if you want to know, or we can still talk during key moments. Again, completely fine with that. So when it comes to the emotional and personality aspects, that's what I like. I mean, granted, I know women like that are few and far between, especially as the generation that I myself am lumped in with, the millennials, have become extremely vapid or dense or so brainwashed by pop culture. But there are diamonds in the rough. There's several exceptions. Unfortunately, 90% of those exceptions are taken, committed, happy. But they should be. That's how things should be. You should be. If you are that awesome of a person, you should have someone. So, I accept that. Now, when it comes to the physical, I mean, this is a mixed bag. I'll come flat out and say it. To quote the great Dave Chappelle, at the end of the day, I'm just a nigga that loved titties. That's one of my favorite aspects of a woman. I mean, if you were to look through my varied collection, that would be very prominent. Everything from lactation to where the cum goes, yes, that's a focal point. It is. So if you have that, that would be a plus, in my eyes. That's where my eyes would go. Although I do pay attention to faces as well. If you have a cute face, that's an automatic plus. That's interesting and draws me in. Cute face, big boobs, but, and there's a little something there, as long as you're proportionate, okay. If it comes to the point to where you're disproportionate, I personally prefer top heaviness. That's my thing. A lot of guys out there like a big ass. I mean, to me, it works in certain situations, but sometimes, if you're not at least offering anything in the chest region, it just gets in the way. outside of an increased desire for anal, it serves no purpose to me. Now, does she have to be thin? Does she have to be a thick girl? I mean, all of that varies. I mean, I'm willing to see beauty in a lot of forms. I mean, outside of top heaviness, I guess if I had to offer a caveat, it would be height. You either have to be tiny, like 5'3", 5'4", shorter, or tall, 5'9", 5'10", and taller. One of those are the more extremes. It's okay if you're in the middle, but again, this is me we're talking about. I can either give you a piggyback ride or look up to you when thinking about climbing a mountain. I mean, either one of those, they've both crossed my mind over the years. So, hair preference, not really a color, just long. I like longer hair on a girl. Shorter hair never appeals to me. Never really has. And aside from that, I can't think of too much of anything else except being a stereotype. I've never really been into black chicks. That just is what it is. But wrapping up with all of that, is that complicated? Am I throwing out too much? Am I not throwing out enough? I mean, this is just what I want. Someone will be there from time to time, and I know at some point they'd probably leave because, well, that's what people do in my life. They come, they hang around for a while, and then, for reasons mostly unbeknownst to me, they just tend to go. Sometimes I don't want them to, sometimes I do, and I know that that's led to issues with me being close to people, and that may be why I'm in the situation I'm in now, where I don't talk to too many people. But when you're me, when you had people vanish, you kind of get to the point where you can just cut them off at the pass. And when you constantly hear no for one reason or another, being a bad approach or lack of common interest or just being too weird, you get to the point where you don't even try. And normally I don't, even though I keep hearing I'm trying too hard. I don't think I am. If I'm out for a specific purpose. I'll sit at a bar by myself for a couple of hours, just drink, watch a game, do whatever. I have actually dealt with people that I haven't wanted to deal with, but they're friends. I get free booze. That's how it is. So, throwing that out, I like to see what happens, knowing that yes, this is what I want as far as a female companion, and if anything comes from that beyond my specifications, great. If not, then, well, I will continue to captain my ship and sail the single seas off into whatever oblivion I'm eventually going to head towards. Not saying I will be forever alone, but accepting the fact that it's a possibility, and if I am, I am. Now, all that said, and yes, I will keep an eye and figure out what's going on and give all of you non-helping bastards side-eye if y'all aren't contributing. I kind of wanted to go into some big news that's been happening with sports figures over the last week. Really over the last couple of days. As we all know, I'm not paying attention incredibly much to the NBA playoffs. Now that Kawhi Leonard is hurt, the Warriors are unfortunately going to steamroll again into the NBA Finals. Cleveland, thanks to LeBron, having at least 25 a night, shooting 50% just about every night during these playoffs, they're getting back to the NBA Finals. Look, just going off of this, and I wanted to say this anyway, but I'll say it now. When it comes to things like the NBA playoffs, everybody was looking forward and predicting a trilogy, another rematch, Warriors and Cavaliers. But am I one of the few people that didn't give two shits about how they would get there? I've seen this movie before, be it the Warriors' dumb luck, or three-point shooting, or injuries to the other team. Okay, they got there. They've won, they've lost. Now, who knows what could happen if they go on and win again? This is going to hang over them again. In Cleveland, with LeBron, best player on the planet, assembling a good team, getting help, have a good coach, who is really going to challenge him in the East? Everybody bitched about Boston getting the 1 seed and Cleveland doing this and Boston doing this. Look what happened in Game 1. Cavaliers are now 9-0. And it always hasn't been an ugly 9-0 either. It's been a pretty comfortable ride. The only thing that they could probably not do is sweep Boston. Wouldn't surprise me if they didn't. Probably would. So, when you're seeing movies like this again, don't you want to just fast forward to the end? I do. It's inevitable. There are no plot twists. There are no turns. No characters that have been dead the entire time. No calls coming from inside the house. No crazed person behind a shower curtain making you think of chocolate syrup. That's not happening in the NBA playoffs. We get the drill, and we're getting the drill even faster than we have in previous years. Not just the fact that there was only one technical upset, but the two teams that we want to see in a rematch, they're right now a combined 19-0. 19-0. When have you ever seen that happen in the playoffs? So, while I still say it's getting closer, I'm not really going to do anything or sit down or make an investment to watch until the NBA Finals. The big crescendo that will finally arrive, because in the end, although I didn't predict it, I thought it was going to be San Antonio. I didn't think Golden State would even get to the playoffs or win 50 games. They've proved me wrong, and they keep proving me wrong. Here they are again. So when Game 1 tips off in God knows when, a couple weeks' time, great. Wake me up. Until then, hell, Stanley Cup playoffs, who the hell would think Nashville would get this far? Ottawa, this is the best one that they've had in 10 years. Lighting up the defending Stanley Cup champions and Sid the Kid for 4 in the first period. You want playoff action. You want to know what's going on. You want to see impressive performances. You've had 6, 7, 10 of them staring you in the face. You just haven't wanted to watch that channel. Too fucking bad. I have been. And I've been enjoying the ride. But, going back to what I was originally setting up. As San Antonio got to the conference finals. They beat, and especially in Game 6, demolished the Houston Rockets. I thought that was going to be more competitive. It wasn't. Game 6, James Harden had an off night. 2 for 11 shooting, 10 points, where he was just running up and down the court and controlling everything. Me personally, I just see it as having a very bad, unfortunately timed game to have an off night. This is what happens with every player at some point. Sometimes they even get into a slump. But everybody got their panties in a bunch and rubbing and chafing because after Game 6, he was out of the club. And there were a couple other players there. Everybody's like, oh, you should have waited a day, this and that. Honestly, I am not setting out to be a role model. If I just had a bad night, my season's over, my ass is handed to me, yeah, I'm going to let off some steam. I'm going to go. Me, personally, I'd probably smoke. I'd hit up some places, maybe give me a woman. I had no problem in what James Harden did. I mean, it's not like he has another game to prepare for, this and that. I mean, it's done until October. So what? He's still a good player. He's still going to be the face of the Rockets. And it was San Antonio. Lest we forget how many titles they've won over the past 20 years. How they consistently 50, 55, 60 plus wins. You have a bad game thanks to that sort of a stellar defense? Yeah. They got you. Things like that, it just happens. You go, you're pissed because you want to do more. That's how life is. We don't all get that. So, when things like that happen, it's just, You go, you process, you do. Now, to the other side of the coin, Matt Harvey, the Dark Knight, the one who's going to be the man for the Mets. Well, he's had issues personally, and it's gotten to the point where it's affected his job. Showed up late to the ballpark, suspended 3 days without pay by the Mets. Officially the whole violation of team rules. Personally, I'm in favor of it. Now, as I want to say to Matt Harvey, I kind of feel bad. Yeah, you're going through a breakup. Yeah, you've got some issues and tough shit, but remember, it's not like you're breaking up with a colleague or a girl that you've known since high school or the average one like I would get. I've been through breakups. My first ex-girlfriend, she passed away. I've dealt with that kind of shit. Harvey, bro, you were with Adriana Lima. I'm sorry, if you're in the kind of position to where your penis is going to enter a supermodel's vagina, you're going to have to mentally prepare for shit like this. Everything's not going to be like with Justin Verlander and Kate Upton. And I don't even know how that shit's going to work, if you ask me. That's in a potential powder keg that could blow up at any time. But dude, you're going out and you're slaying top quality ass. You should know damn well it's not always gonna work out in your favor. That just happens as a man dealing with women. Or whatever your orientation is. Nobody's gonna bat 1,000. You as a pitcher aren't going to have a lifetime ERA of 0. No one does unless you barely pitch. In the end, it's a numbers game. You've got to deal, you've got to process, you take your time, but you go and you get back out there. Go out at Citi Field. Pitch a gym. Then you can go and you can pick up someone else. Get back on the magazine covers. Be the man. Drive around in whatever the fuck you want and can afford. You did this. You got her. You can get someone else. I'm not of that privilege. You are. Take fucking advantage. Come on, Matt. I mean, I feel bad, but don't let it fuck up a good gig. Because while there's people out there that are caring about your life, and I hope you have people close to you that do care about your life, sadly everyone does. And I'm going to put a message out there to everyone else who's caring about his life that has no reason to. Don't care about these athletes' lives. Care about their jobs. Do they care about each and every one of you? You automatically think if you tweeted him or if you talk shit about him on Facebook that he's going to individually seek you out? No. These people don't have time for that. You go, you pay your money or don't. You watch on TV or don't. You have these choices. If you're a fan, you care about what they do on the field, on the ground, on the pitch, on the court. Because that's what lures you into them. Their job. Not their life. What does caring about their life help you? Except you stop giving a shit about yours, and then what? You stop caring about your life, then all of a sudden you don't have the means to go see them at their job. So to all these people saying about this, now I'm by no means saying the job is all that matters. Yes, they're humans. They're not machines. But you're fans of athletes because of what they do and how they make their living. Not what they do personally. Let's just all remember that, okay? Because, like it or not, you've got a life. You've got a living to make. You've got whatever going on. And as much as you care about all them, they're not giving you a second thought. It's how it is. It's how it's going to be. And in a lot of instances, it's how it should be. So, with that, we as a society need to get over ourselves. And I'm going to continue this theme because it came to my attention yesterday via the wonders that is Instagram about this whole Michaela Maroney thing. Now honestly, people, yes, when we saw her in London, she was this adorable 16-year-old silver medalist who amazed us in the fact that she wasn't impressed and felt like she should win gold and made the face, and that made all around fantastic. That was the image that we had of her then. Is this then? No. This is now. She's not 16. She's 21. Now, I'm going to say this again. She's 21. Seeing that Instagram video of her in a thong, I happened to see a silver medalist gymnast, but not in the same way. Yes, she's always going to be a silver medalist gymnast. That's always going to be in the records. But at the same time, she's a 21-year-old with a hot ass. Do you really expect these people to stay in one lane their entire lives just because that's how you get a snapshot of them? No. They're going to grow up. If they decide they want to do things, they're not going to be boxed in. I mean, Christ. Look at Miley Cyrus. Did everybody expect her to be Hannah Montana for all eternity? Look at fucking Justin Bieber. Did you really expect him to be just a little Canadian mop top singing falsetto or whatever the fuck that is? Do you expect him to be that forever? I didn't. I wouldn't want to be. I would want to do something else as I get older, as I figure myself out. I would want to evolve. And honestly, Michaela, I applaud you for how you handled it. You're going to have haters. You're always going to have haters. I'm not going to be one of them. Do your thing. You go, you're entitled to that. You're not hurting anybody. Sure as hell ain't hurting me. Granted, I may have to break out a sock or two sometimes late at night, but that's me. I see things like that, or when I see Ali Reisman in the body issue posing, I'm like, I'm going to need to be alone for a few minutes. Then you'll see me hit my vape afterwards, and I will just be fine for at least a half hour or more. That's just how it is. They're going to do things. You're going to see things. You're not going to like everything you see. But in the end, do you want the same image of you? Do you want to live in a box for the rest of your life? If you do, I'll slap a straitjacket on you and take you to the insane asylum myself. Because that's no way to live. You should evolve. You should grow. You should question. You should determine things. Expand horizons. Just again, don't be stupid. Don't be a dick. Don't hurt anybody, especially innocent people, but just bust out. Figure your own shit out. Because I'm sure there are things out there that everyone's wanted to do or see that would be kind of weird. Hell, I can tell you some things. Just things that I've wanted to do and see and have done. Some of it involved going new places, trying out new restaurants. Others involve metal chains and a St. Andrew's cross. That's my spectrum. If you have a spectrum like that, more power to you. If you don't, fine. But at least have a fucking spectrum. And get over yourself. Because a lot of these people are, and when they do, they are going to leave you behind. It's how life is. Now, on the other side of that coin, LeVar Ball. Bro, what the fuck you doing? Big baller corporation and this and that because you got sons that are so talented. First of all, far be it for me to say this as just a humble man in front of a mic who's only been doing sports analysis and have been published for 5 years, but you fuck, there are no guarantees. Say Lonzo gets drafted by the Lakers. One bad play, going up for a dunk, fucks up his knee and his career's over. Then what are you gonna do? He'd fade into obscurity, life would go on, and the Lakers would just do their thing. And not even working out for the Celtics, do you really think you have that kind of clout? You have that kind of power? Because there's plenty of one-and-doners and all these people waiting in the wings, willing to take his place. They'll work out for teams, get drafted, and they could make it to the Hall of Fame. while your old ass is sitting out there looking at what could have been. Rocking back and forth on a porch, watching games on TV, raving about your failed hopes and dreams that got crushed. And that's just the basics for this attitude. You go on nationally syndicated radio and live television with sexist, misogynistic, disrespectful ways that haven't been seen out of men since the 1950s. You go and you insult someone like Christine Leahy, who I think is wonderful, a fantastic hire by Colin Cowherd, who's a great host in his own right, and he's proven it. You go and say things like stay in your lane and you're not marketing to women because you're not a women's company. The fuck is wrong with you? First of all, financially, you are leaving millions of dollars on the table, if not more. But second of all, you're really alienating a set of people who they can destroy any company they want just by not patronizing them. Have you not heard of the Grab Your Wallet campaign? When women boycotted dozens of places of establishment that had Ivanka Trump's clothing and handbags? Look what happened. The big corporations bowed to the pressure. They saw what time it was. They looked at their bottom line and said, we're going to pull it. It's worth more for us by not having this stuff. You don't think the same shit could happen to you? Player, better watch yourself. You fucked up and you're playing a dangerous game. You do not want to piss off the masses. Not now. Not when everybody's getting woke to a lot of shit that's going on. You pull this? Women buy sports gear. They buy shoes for themselves, their man, their kids. They go to games. You're liable to see as many women at a Laker game or whoever potentially shitty team that your son goes to. It's not an all-male crowd lighting up cigars and wearing fedoras like you see back in the old black and white films. No, there's men, there's women, there's children, boys, girls, there's a lot of people out there. And you're going to snub them because you feel superior? Because you think you're hot shit and you're macho? If you're all that, motherfucker, why are you riding on your kids' coattails? Fuck have you done in your life? Going around starting this company, why hasn't it blown up? Why haven't you had more personal success? Why are you using your kids as a fucking human lotto ticket? You ever think to take a step back and look at your own ass in the mirror? Well, I mean, to be fair, I should smack myself for that, which rhetorical, the answer is obviously no. But you should. Bald head, mustache. Why the fuck do you play yourself like that? I feel the need as a man with the women's movement and everything going on. As a man, I won't apologize for him. That's just not right. It's just not what we need. Not now. And especially when you're trying to play all this and do all this and be the man. No, fuck you. You're a punk? You acted like one. Maybe that should be your marketing strategy. Clothing and shoes for punks. Nowadays, you fucking sell millions. But On to some more interesting and to me less enraging sports news. There's a couple of stories that caught my eye. Yesterday, Gisele Bündchen, which finally has emerged from the jungles of Brazil and came on CBS this morning and talked about herself and everything she's doing and her activism, which kudos to her. I have to give her some credit for that, but over the conversation, talk naturally came to her husband, Tom Brady, which, Mr. Brady, congratulations. All the wonders and everything in the world for making the Madden 18 cover. Don't worry about that. That curse, come on, you're Tom Brady. You just led the biggest comeback in NFL history in a Super Bowl. You've got 5 rings. What curse? I mean, you've come back from leg injuries where you've missed a season before. That'll be nothing to you. Just don't worry. You go out. You practice. You have that special diet. You model Ugg boots. You alienate your oldest son. You go and you be the best damn Tom Brady you can be. You're chums with the president. He'll be able to help you out. I hope. At least for your sake. You got him. Head to practice wearing your Make America Great Again hat. And you go and you don't have a care in the world. Yay! But I would have a talk with your wife. I'd have a talk with your team. I'd have a talk with the league. Because the word concussion was thrown out there. And they've taken out lesser quarterbacks than yourself. Y'all know Troy Aikman. He took that last hit back in 2000. That was the 8th concussion of his career. And if your woman's saying that you're having concussions every year, I've got questions. Is this true? Now, granted, the NFL, they've done their compulsory investigation. They've found nothing as of yet. I'm sure this probably isn't the end of it, because a lot of people like myself would have more questions, because really, what's going on? You've never been officially listed as having a concussion. The hoodie himself has been playing the great gamesmanship and putting you as questionable and all this and that for shoulder or leg injuries or God knows what to what extremity he thinks of in the spur of the moment. But if you really had these concussions, if you're really playing with these concussions, why hide them? Why don't you two sit down and talk about it? Is there something going on? Is she popping off at the mouth? Or is there a big cover-up because you are Tom fucking Brady? You're on the Madden 18 cover. You see the track record of guys that are on the Madden cover. There's a lot to figure out here. There's a lot I want to know. And just prima facie, with what's reported, something ain't adding up. I got 6 on one, but I'm more towards a half a baker's dozen on the other. Where's this extra little bit coming from? Should it be there? Should it be more? I hope this story doesn't go away. Everybody seems to think, oh, it's signed, sealed, and delivered. But it really shouldn't be. Especially with the climate of the NFL and all the new technologies and other leagues and other things going on. This is not the best of looks, no matter how you slice it. So, keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on her. Keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on the league, because this is gonna linger for a while. Stepping down from the NFL to what's shaping up to be more like the NFL as years pass, ESPN, the network that pays out the ass for what NFL they can get, paying even more out the ass for college football, they've decided, since they've got the New Year's Six locked up, took the key and threw it in the middle of the fucking ocean, they decided, well, NFL has halftime shows, Super Bowl has halftime shows, this is like the College Bowl, which it wouldn't surprise me if that's the next step. Instead of the college football playoff national championship game, call it the College Bowl. It's catchy. Or think of some name, because we all know the bowl subdivision loves bowl games. There's fucking 40 or more of them now. It's ridiculous in of itself. But if you're going to do that, why not? Because ESPN, you've decided college football, the national championship game, is going to have a halftime show where you're going to pay celebrities, musicians out the ass to perform a set, do all this and that, and the pomp and pageantry and organizing at the stadiums and everything. Look, I get that the NFL has shafted you, or at least you feel that way. But are you going to take college football and turn it to the NFL because of that? It looks like you are, and I'm telling you, you shouldn't. Don't. College football isn't the NFL. College football is creating something that's schism with the NFL. Because in the mentality of the NFL, you have more time to produce, whereas in college, you don't. You only have one franchise, and the Browns, it's not willing to give a project multiple years to develop, although they finally decided to turn that around. You do have a measure of time. Whereas with college football, win, recruit, produce. Get yourself on the bigger stage, the bigger conference, the bigger TV networks. Money. Take those millions and let's bring them in and turn them into billions. So we can charge students 60, 70, 100, 200 grand a year, knowing that, hey, this helps us. We're on TV, we're cutting deals. Sure, some of our academics and a lot of places aren't up to the best, but in the end, who cares? We don't need more professors. We don't need to improve our curriculum. This is America. It's football. That's what we care about. Now, you and ESPN being a 4-letter network, you've had some shit go down. Are you really trying to do all this and spend more money when you just fired 100 analysts? You're staring down the barrel of people cutting the cord. You're shaking a lot of things up because you're skewing younger, and you think that people are going to pay attention to this? You really want to have this homogenized. Take a look at yourselves, ESPN. At some point, you gotta wonder, this is a bad idea. A terrible idea. Stop it. These contracts are not forever. You really think if you're going to make decisions like this, networks like FS1 aren't going to... Hey, playoff committee, how about we negotiate a better deal? And you think because you're spinning off into the ACC network and the Longhorn network and the SEC network, Pac-12 network ain't your baby, Big Ten network sure as fuck isn't. You've got a lot of competition now, yet you're deciding to do this. Yeah. Sounds a touch stupid if you ask me. But then again, I don't work for you. I interviewed for you back in college, and it didn't end well. Seeing the great network that you were, it slowly, steadily, further steaming in the summer sun shit pile that you're turning into. I'm glad things worked out the way it did. I'm miserable enough in my job here in Florida. Throw in Connecticut weather into the mix? Fucking hell. And finally, to wrap up this week's adventure, this week in misery. Now, over the past week, it seems like we're partying like it's 1973 or thereabouts. Gong Show, although granted that was later in the 70s, that's coming back on the air. The Joker's Wild's coming back on the air with Snoop Dogg as host. I fully approve of that. I'll get into that more next week. ABC, spoiler alert, I love you. Thank you. Hashtag deep tease. But anyways, I'm going to stop whispering now. The past few days, we've been on a pretty good streak. Like the summer rains here in my neck of the woods, where you can set your watch to them. Well, you will be able to in about a month or so. You could set your watch by, it's 5 o'clock, breaking news. It's 5 o'clock, breaking news. It's 5 o'clock, breaking news. Now, unfortunately, of course, I would have to record the day when the streak ends, but look at what's happened just in these past few days. Special counsel hired and appointed for the Russian investigation into the Trump campaign. Then before that, former FBI Director James Comey said, yes, I have memos of conversations. Trump wanted me to let the Flynn investigation go. Then before that, Agent Orange decides to leak code word information way above top secret. Hardly anybody on the planet knew this. Leak this information from the Israelis to the Russians in a meeting where there was only Russian media present and not American media. I ask myself, are we finally at the point where the jig is up? Are you finally going to get to the point to where people will call for impeachment? Let things play out? Obstruction of justice and impeachment charges for the president is nothing new. Look at Clinton. Senate acquitted him. Look at Nixon. He got a knock on the door saying it was time to go, made the big speech and quit. Then got a pardon. 45, do you think you're going to be able to skate by? Because you're not doing yourself too many favors right about now. Things aren't looking too good. History's repeating itself, and you're not casting the best of roles right this minute. Are we really at the point where people are going to finally start stepping up? Listening to the calls, listening to the masses, respecting and doing all these things? Are people finally going to answer the heed? I hope so. For the good of all of us. But, for you, Trump, you spouting off, not remembering a college president's name, giving a speech that parts of it are straight out of Legally Blonde, and then talking about a fucking football schedule. I'm not even enough of a diehard to talk about a football schedule at a commencement address. Then you turn around and you speak to the Coast Guard at their ceremony. I was this close to being the Coast Guard. Those would have been people that I would relate to. You talk about you? You make this about a witch hunt? You fat orange fuck, witches were burnt at the stake. They were crushed with upwards of 100 pounds or more of rocks. They were drowned. They weren't even really witches. The worst things that's happened to you was an investigation and people being meansies and making fun of you on Twitter and on TV. Yet, you're calling this a witch hunt and you're comparing to that. You've decided that no one's going to step up and be your villain, so you can be the hero. So now you want to become a victim? Really, get over yourself. I've heard the speeches. You classically deflected everything you accused Hillary of doing. Look at what you've done. Or at least accused of. You say you miss your old life. You want to be at your different golf courses. You thought it was going to be too much work, or less work. Quit. No one's forcing you to stick around. Except maybe Mercer, but I mean, come on. He's a billionaire, you're a billionaire. Go into billionaire things. Go have yourself some fun. Yeah, go back. Grab women by the pussy if you want to. As a private citizen, no one would look at you any different. Just get the fuck out of the White House. For the rest of us. Let us go do our lives and we'll worry about taking down Pence and Paul Ryan and all of these other Republican fucks. But no. Go. Claim some sort of victory. Build your TV network. You said yourself about certain winners being unfit to be president. You're one of them. We'll be okay. We'll get along absolutely fine without you. But if you want to stick around, I'm up for some potential impeachment hearings. I would love to see some more testimony. Let Comey have his memos. You're not going to get the ones that you want related to Obama. Let Flynn tell his story. I'm sure it'll be very good. Let the country go through now. Let my generation go through now what our elders did in Watergate. Except this time let them see it to a finish. There's a way that I could slap the handcuffs on you myself. I would. I hope it comes to that. I really do. But anyways, 'tis the end of my show. And I'm going to be honest, I'm getting hungry. So, high time for me to wrap things up. you enjoyed this experience and love my dulcet tones, check me out on w2mnet.com. I'm dabbling in a few things there. I mean, you can hear myself. I mean, unfortunately, due to a few external things this week in the AFL didn't go down, but you can hear me on there. Soccer to the Max, my midweek, not entirely sober episodes. Myself and my awesome producer, Sean, at W2M Sean. Again, if you don't feel like dealing with me and my musings about what I want with the woman, I'm going to warn you though, Sean, maybe be prepared, because as you know, Twitter is a very weird place. But if you as a public feel, we're going to deal with him instead, have at it. If you want to hear me break down triangles and formations, again, soccer to the max. Myself, Sean, Rachel McCrieger, we do our best. I personally think we put on a good show, but I'm biased. And if the other things at W2Mnet.com don't excite you, like with the wrestling or football or video game reviews or things of that nature, they should. But if you want to stick to the podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, 99% of the places where you get your podcasts from, you'll be able to hear all of the wonders that we present to you. So go, check us out, do your thing, take a good listen. But as you do, remember, do your homework, and don't forget to be awesome.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.